Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to True Talk Tuesday, where I give you the real deal on real estate. Tonight, I have been telling you guys for months that we are going to have an inspector here on the show so that way you can ask all your home inspection questions. And guess what? Tonight, we've got an inspection company with us. We have Patsy and Wayne Rogers from Check Twice Inspections with us. And I am going to, before any time goes by, I'm going to put them on stage. So everybody, welcome Wayne and Patsy. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Shalisa.
Hey, how are you two doing?
doing great.
Doing
Thanks.
good. All right, so tell my viewers a little bit about you guys, how long, just give us a little bit of information on you.
Sure. We'll do the brief, we'll do the TikTok version.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. 25 years plus doing remodeling work. Last 8 years, we've been doing home inspections. And that's really where we found a calling, a passion. And Patsy was doing ministry and teaching before I convinced her to please come work with me and do home inspections. So
Right.
that's the brief lookout.
I don't actually go do any of the inspections. Wayne and our son Jeremy do those. I answer the phones, book appointments, talk to customers and realtors, and research permits and see what I can find out about the house on the back end before they even go out.
Researching permits, man. Oh, that makes you go crazy, doesn't it?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So if you guys ever call, you're going to probably speak to Patsy. All right. And I can
Yes.
attest, Wayne's a nice guy too. I know Patsy better. And I will say, Patsy, I love her with my whole heart. And if you ever make Patsy angry, you did something. All right. You're the problem.
100%.
All right. So, over the last couple of months, I have been asked a couple of different questions about home inspections from both the buyers and the seller side. So, first, I'd like to know what exactly are you looking at during a home inspection? Because I know what a 4 point and a win mitt is because I'm a realtor, and these are the reports that we have to have. But what are those for everybody else listening? What does that mean?
Um, for briefness, or hopefully to cover as many bases at one time, is we'll do the intersection between the home inspection and the insurance inspections.
Okay.
So, as you well know, if a house is not insurable, it can't get a loan.
Right.
So that's kind of a big deal. And unfortunately, we've come from 2019, 2020, where it was the Wild West, where houses were as is and people were paying $20,000 above asking price. And I'm saying, please don't do that.
Yeah.
To now we're at the place where the insurance companies are scrutinizing every system that's in a house. Um, and there's not a lot of leeway.
Right.
So permitting is a big issue. Everything has a lifespan, and most things are on about a 10 to 15-year lifespan. And when the insurance company looks at the permitting, if it's past 10 years, past 15 years, they're unlikely to insure the property. That's just
Or there's fewer companies that will insure it.
correct.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So when we're looking at things, we're going through all the systems, top to bottom, everything from things that are major systems, from the 4 point electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofing, structural, and then some of the fit and finishes. Are there broken doorknobs, broken doors and drawers on the kitchen? Does a stove work properly? All of those things. Is there broken tiles on the floor? Does the toilet flush properly? We crawl in the attic to make sure you have a proper amount of insulation. Crawl underneath the house if there's a crawl space. So it's all those things, but really the things that make the most impact on a sale for both the seller and the buyer is going to be, does this thing pass a 4 point in order for it to get insurance? So I think that's kind of the major thing. So the systems, and I can go over some stuff with you guys if you want. the systems that we see that fail the most frequently that keep people from getting insurance on their homes.
Okay. So, what are those systems that typically prevent people? Now, I know from my side, polybutylene pipes are the bane of my existence.
Yes.
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 They are the bane of my existence, and sometimes solar panels. But what are from your perspective, what have you seen the most of?
So I'll go in a hierarchy of importance to lesser things. So the roof, I would say, number one is the biggest issue, and that's a mixed bag. Like we were doing an inspection this week, and what did you say was
The Zillow listing said the roof was approximately 9 years old. I think that's pretty good. Well, I went and looked up the permit on it. The roof was put on in 2012. It's 14 years old.
It's a little
It-
bit older.
Yes.
Yep.
But the buyer is thinking, oh, the roof's only 9 years old. It's probably going to have 10 years of life left in it, if you know.
Yeah.
So, having somebody that's having an inspector one, and he still will. Now the roof might have 5 or 6 years of life left in it. It's really hard to tell in Florida. We won't know till he goes up there and looks at it and looks at the condition of the shingles and
And FYI, even if I, give it my blessing, the insurance company will go, nope, this is too old. You need to replace it.
Right.
So
Then
that's
you
part of the
have to get
conversation we have with
certified.
folks too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Then my experience is when that happens, when the roof is too old and the insurance won't do it, and we can't get the seller to redo the roof, then a lot of times we're going to have to ask for someone to certify the life of the roof. We're going to have to say that they have at least 3 to 5 more years left of that roof in order for them to get insurance, and that's an extra cost to the buyers, because now the buyers are going to have to find an inspector such as yourself or a roofing company to come out and say, hey, it's another 3 to 5 years.
yes.
Yeah.
And there are insurance companies that will say, okay, we're going to give you 90 days to get it replaced. If the sellers aren't going to do it, we'll give you 90 days to get it replaced after closing.
Or an overinflated policy to cover the liability cost of what could happen with an older roof.
Right.
So there's the roof. Okay, let's go on.
So there's the roof. So then we would go on to the electrical, and a lot of the issues we find. So there's a super common thing, which is the infamous double tap.
Yeah.
So that's
very common.
Very common.
It's very easy to fix in most cases.
Yeah, very easy to fix. Second most common is going to be sub panels, which is a weird thing where you're not supposed to have the neutral and the grounds connected together in the sub panel. And the main panel, it's fine. Sub panel, it's an issue.
Will you explain what a double tap is?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So
I know what it is, but not everybody else does.
So the issue is when you have two wires that are inside the breaker, and the screw that's holding the wires down, the heat will make the wires expand and contract, and over time it'll get loose and it'll cause arcing and a fire. That's the reason why they don't want double taps on those breakers. They consider it to be a fire hazard.
So it should be on two separate breakers, and maybe they didn't have a breaker, so they just stuck two wires under one screw and one breaker.
And some breakers are they're engineered to have two wires, which is perfectly acceptable.
Right.
But a lot do not.
Right.
It's a super simple thing. So there's that. The other thing is we see a lot in older homes that are from like the 1960s ish, is going to be aluminum strand or rubber coated or cloth. In times past, and this is like the pre-COVID ish, they had these special connectors, Alumicons and some other things, that would connect the aluminum wires to copper and then connect them to the breaker, which is perfectly acceptable. Now underwriters are not accepting that for insurance. So now they just want to see the entire wire, and it's usually a 240 line from either a air conditioner or from a stove. but they want to see the entire line replaced from wherever the appliance is all the way to the panel.
They want all copper in the
Yes.
panel.
Yeah.
So
I've seen
even,
that a couple of times.
even an electrician can say it's okay. The inspector can say there's nothing wrong with this, but the insurance
If
companies
it exists,
say
they may say no.
many of them, there's only a couple that will take multi-strand aluminum wire.
Yeah.
So if you've got an older home and you think you may have that, go ahead and get an electrician.
Yeah.
To
And then the
replace
other
it
one
with
that's not
copper.
as common as the houses like in the 40s and 50s, they had the knob and tube wiring, which, believe it or not, we don't come across it as often, but for sure those are still. So they'll have like a person come in and like hodgepodge do some stuff, but in the attic, all the old knob and tube wires all still live. Yep. Yep. I see it often. So they'll put a brand new box in, it looks all pretty and it's got all the new wires in. And what they'll do is they'll run those wires up in the attic and then junction box all the old wires to make it look like it's new, but it's got all the old original wires from the 40s where the insulation is peeling off of it,
Yes.
and wires are exposed and whatever.
Oh
Yep.
no, that's a fire hazard waiting to happen.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no.
That's the most common for electrical. And then some of the two other things is the grounding screw that's on the sub panel. It's just this green screw. It needs to be removed out of the panel on the sub panel, and sometimes electricians leave it in.
Open little slots. What
Yep,
are they called?
yep,
The
yep,
blanks. So if you open up the door on your panel and there's holes where you could stick your fingers in,
That's a
Yeah.
safety
that's a safety hazard.
Yeah.
We see
Yeah.
that a lot, but again, a very
easy
thing to
fix.
fix.
Yeah, easy
Yeah.
thing to fix.
And then there are some electrical panels that are uninsurable. We still see them, especially in some mobile homes. That
Like Zinsco is one, and it's name brands. It's none of the name, like it's not Square Day. It's not. It's like a Zinsco, Wadco, some of the
Pacific, what's the
yeah,
Federal
FPE.
Pacific?
Yeah, they just won't insure them. So you have to
Those
replace the panel.
brands, then people have to get a whole new panel. They're just panels that are uninsurable.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
I have not yet. Haven't you run across that yet?
We see them in the mobile homes that also have polybutylene.
Yeah, right in the 80s and 90s window is when they had both problems.
Yeah. Well, the polybutylene pipes. A friend of mine has a house that, and I think they just had to pay $9,500 to plumbers to completely repipe the house. And it's a small house, but it was still $9,500 to replumb the whole house. So
We'll talk about plumbing next. Then go on to
we're doing a remodel, and I think the quote we got was 17,000
to do a repipe.
Yeah. So
it's not polybutylene. It's
it was the old galvanized.
Galvanized.
So we'll go through.
That can be just as bad for insurance.
Yes, that's the second. So so in the hierarchy of problems, yes, polybutylene is right up there.
Yeah.
Then there's galvanized, and then here's one for your viewers that they may not know: PEX.
Old
Oh,
PEX. So polybutylene is completely nobody will insure polybutylene.
Right.
Galvanized, there are some companies, there's a few that will, but many that won't. So then there's PEX that went in before 2012.
Yep.
So that is, they're finding out is causing issues. So the insurance companies want to know if you have PEX, when was it put in? Is it before 2012 or after 2012? So that's something actually fairly new on the 4-point that we have to report on.
And for my viewers, when we talk about, I've done a video before about polybutylene, but polybutylene pipes, they have been just known to rupture for no reason whatsoever. When you put a bunch of chlorinated products, cleaning products into them, they degrade over time and they will just burst out of nowhere. And that's
and
why insurances don't want to.
if they're curious if they have polybutylene, we most typically only see them in mobile homes or modular homes. I don't think you ever see them in.
Very rarely.
And it's gray. It's a gray pipe.
Yep.
It's a gray pipe that's bringing the water into the house. So you could go under your sink and look at what's coming, not the pipe you see right under the sink, but what's coming out from the wall or what's coming up from the floor at the to the toilet.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
At the shutoff valve, what color is that pipe?
Right, and it's going to be right in that window. The 80s and 90s is when that was super popular. Past that, that's when the PECs before the 2000s in the inspection industry, we kind of jokingly like to say, polybutylene 2.0. That's the
The early PECs.
the early PECs. Yeah.
We have a Bailey James saying hey to everybody, by the way, in comments. I know you guys can't say that. So Bailey said hi to everybody. What is another big thing that you've seen hold up a deal that is super simple for a seller to take care of?
I don't think we have enough time.
So, have sellers listen to you, right?
Yeah. So here's the honest answer: is there is a difference between something that is livable and something that's acceptable.
Correct.
So oftentimes sellers, well, it's been like this for 10 years. I don't see what fair enough. But the deferred cost of that has gone from it's unattractive to now it's unserviceable, meaning that it will not work as it originally was intended. And it is so decayed or so rotten and of no use that now the system has to be replaced. And you think it's, and people, and fair enough. I mean, people live in their homes and they become delusional thinking, oh, it's perfectly okay. I just do this and patch it. And
my roof doesn't leak.
Yeah,
so it's okay.
Problem?
Right.
No.
And
that's with, it could be the age of the air conditioner.
Mm-hmm.
They could have a 20-year-old air conditioner.
Right.
Well, air conditioners don't typically last 20 years in Florida.
No. Not here in Florida.
No. You have one that's working well still, that's awesome. But if you're buying a home and the AC is 20 years old, if it's 15 years old, we are going to recommend,
if it's 12 years old,
we're going to recommend that we're going to say it's nearing the end of its life expectancy. You may want to ask to get that replaced, or just know, hey, it's at the end of its life expectancy.
And that's part of the problem too. Like, so it's a combination of a bunch of paradigm shifts in people's thinking, which is back in the day from the 70s and before, you could buy a refrigerator and it would last you 40, 50, 60, 70 years easily. No problems.
Yeah.
All the appliances right now have a built-in failure at about 10 to 12 years. They're purposely built and made so that they have a lifespan of about 12 years ish before they break down and you need to buy a new one. So when we do reports, we try to inform people, hey, I understand that this one is past its life and you've had it, and it works. But
it's working today.
Yes.
However,
yes,
it's at the end. It's at the end of its life expectancy. You just can't be surprised if you say okay to this and then 6 months into being in the home, the AC goes out.
Yes.
Or the hot water tank.
Yeah, we had a similar thing where we had a hot water tank. We did an inspection. So, and some of this is cover our butts when we take pictures, but I shoot a laser at the water to make sure that it's hitting temperature coming out of the faucet, and the hot water tank is working perfectly. However, the hot water tank is old, and this was a recent thing where the folks moved in,
and they didn't close till 3 or 4 months after we did the inspection, so it was a longer process. They had to get a new roof,
and the heating elements went up in the
hot water tank.
Because it was an older tank.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that had to be done. Speaking of water tanks, there was a house that I sold in Bartow, and I wonder if you've ever seen one of these. They had a modern water tank, right? A water heater. But in the attic, the inspector comes down and tells me, he's like, there's a coffin up there. Like, excuse me? And he's like, it's not a coffin. It looks like a coffin. This house was built in the 20s. And so it was one of the luxury homes in the 20s that had hot water. And it was the cedar tank, the cedar box
Mhm.
that would hold water in it in the attic. So it would warm up over the day. It wouldn't be necessarily hot like we have it, but it was warm water that they would be able to bathe in. Have you ever seen one of those in any of the houses that you've gone into?
No, the oldest hot water, the oldest tank I've seen was from like 1960. And that thing was this huge red, it
Yeah.
was enormous. And I can't even remember, was that mulberry? I can't
And
remember.
it still worked.
And it still worked.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that's a new one. I haven't seen the coffin, but I'll be
Well,
on the lookout.
the first time I ever saw an instant water heater, I was floored. I was like, that thing is small. My
Yep.
grandfather was a plumber, so I've been with him on jobs to replace water heaters and everything. So I remember the big water heaters that he would pull in. I also got made fun of. I'm going to be honest with you too. I got made fun of because I say hot water heater, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Instead of
and I had an inspector send
water
me
heater.
a picture of a water heater in a bikini and said, "This is a hot water heater." And I was like, "Y'all, I don't appreciate that, all right? This is the South, and we say hot water heater, all right? This is how we
Hot
say
water
things
tank.
here." Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I do. By the
Mhm.
way, Bailey said that she's met both you and I, Patsy, from the Polk County Women Mean Business networking group when she came
Oh,
with Vicky. So that's how. Shout out to
great.
Polk County Women Mean Business,
Yeah.
by the way. It is one of the
Fantastic group.
best female networking groups, and I have met some amazing people like Patsy, and now I get to meet her husband. So, Bailey, nice to see that
Daily.
you're
Yes.
seeing that you're seeing this. All right. So, what is something that before we leave tonight, because we got like 8 more minutes before it's 8:30? Um, what is something that you have found that you would scream to the buyers, like absolutely, besides foundation issues and like actual structure issues, the house is about to fall down? What is something that you would scream at a buyer? Absolutely do not buy this house, or at least have this repaired before you do.
Part of it is do not fall in love with it before you have the inspection.
Right.
That's part. So that's the
That's hard.
and then, yeah, well, and we've been doing realtor services is what we've been trying to do, and what that is I get tired of killing deals and people's dreams.
Right.
Just being like, some people think, oh, you're an inspector, you live for no.
No, you don't.
I get tired of giving bad news.
Right.
However, so what we're trying to do now is when a realtor, or if we've worked with a client before, hey, please talk to us before you even put an offer on a house. We can do a digital footprint to give you just some insight of, oh, well, this house is from 1960. No permits were ever pulled on the electrical. It's likely to have aluminum strand wires in the original box. Well, this house was built in 1979, so it's likely to have PVC plumbing instead of cast iron plumbing because that's when it started. Well, this house was built in 1920. Well, it's likely to have lead paint all through the house. Just there's certain, just because we've done thousands of these.
We'll just give you
Right.
some information just so you're making educated
Right.
decisions
Right.
ahead
Right.
of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it
And then-
gets it's hard when you go in and you've put an offer in, your buyers love the place. And
Yes.
then of course, I have been on those deals where they love this old house, and now we get an inspection done, and this old house has foundation issues. Like, there's all kinds of problems with it.
I think those are the hardest ones because there are people that just love the really old homes.
And they're cool looking
They
for
are.
sure.
They're
So
beautiful.
The nearly 100-year-old homes built on pillar and post, and he crawls underneath, and things are just kind of.
I can ram my hand through the beam because termites have eaten all the way through it.
Or they've repiped the house, but they cut through all the floor joists to put the plumbing in, you know.
Yep.
Just there's just stuff, you know, it's structural. And I don't think there's anything where you'd say don't buy this house, you know,
The
because
conversation. So this is I try to frame the conversation for folks, and this rhetoric seems to hit for people.
Okay.
Is when they ask me, "Hey, what do you think about this house?" The comment that I make is, before you make it cute, you have to spend $100,000 in structural and mechanical issues. Just so
yes,
you understand, that's where you are. This is
Right.
$100,000 just to get this up to livable standards. Then you can make it cute. And then
Right.
they look at me with this puzzled look on their face. And I'm like, well, like we were talking about, the beams underneath, you're going to have to get the whole undercarriage rebuilt because it's termite damaged. The electrical system is hodgepodge. Then they just put a new box in, but the whole rest of the house needs to be rewired. The plumbing is all cast iron, and when I look underneath of the crawl space, well, guess what? You can see drip lines where the water is leaking in the You know, it's just on and on and on. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, that this has you know, they did a great job of painting the outside of the house and making it look
Yeah, like
gingerbread
you. Yeah.
cool, you know, but it's going to take a lot of money to get it up to just livable standards before you remodel the kitchen, before you
Yeah.
put the cute swing in the backyard, but you know, all that stuff. So that's the conversations I have.
I appreciate that too, because you're educating them, you're letting them know like this isn't a lost cause, but it's
right.
going to require more money for you to have that in order for
Yeah,
you to have that dream. So I appreciate that you say that.
yeah. So like, and here's my what has more importance to me is that I do hate giving bad news. I do hate all of that, but I also hate thinking that people didn't have information or they got screwed or
Mm.
they were deceived in some way, whatever the thing is.
Mhm.
I would rather have people, and I do over explain things sometimes. You know, I mansplain, so fair enough. But I don't want people to walk away not being aware with their eyes wide open, knowing what they're getting. If they know they're going to get into it, we don't care. We're going to great. I'm
Okay,
happy
cool.
for
Right.
you.
Yes.
Invite me to the barbecue. I'll come and spend time with you.
Right.
But I just don't want you to get caught off guard and be like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. We bought
Yeah.
this house. It was our dream house, and now it's a nightmare. You know, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I've recently heard of one like that where they thought they were buying their dream home and then it's turned out to be an absolute nightmare with things such as mold and all that kind of good stuff. Like I say good stuff, not good stuff.
Yeah.
Like all that it's turned out to be a problem. Now, before we go, one last question because I get asked this. Do inspectors check for mold?
We can. So there's in most inspectors, and I can't speak for what all they do, but I can speak for what we do. So we do what's called ancillary inspections. So we do a home inspection, then we do insurance inspections, then we do an air quality inspection where we send those results to the lab.
Mhm.
We do sewer scoping. So like we'll get on the roof and put a camera down inside of the old cast iron and find out if it's broken or blocked off or anything of that nature. We do infrared, where we can detect heat signatures in the walls that are abnormal, where either heat's coming through where it shouldn't, or
From
where
a leak or electrical
yeah,
issues or a lack of insulation.
yeah,
Okay.
So the air quality, the mold and air quality, kind of a standard inspection isn't a mold inspection. Um, but if we see something, there's a leak, or if he smells something, he will recommend that mold and air quality testing be done. So what
Okay.
I tell people when they call and ask about it, there's mold everywhere. Mold
Yeah.
is in the air everywhere. But certain levels of it are dangerous, and certain types of mold, there's so many different varieties of mold. Some molds are very common, you find them everywhere, and some are very problematic, dangerous to your health. there's no way for us to know just visually
what it is.
what
Right.
it is. So sometimes we've done air quality and mold test, and it doesn't appear to be anything, but
or smell anything.
but the air quality test is showing that there are unusually high levels of mold, or certain levels of mold. So there's no way to really know that for sure unless we do the air sample or swabs, and then we send stuff to a lab and have the lab tell us what it is.
And then just be nerdy, just real, it's in me. I got to get it out, the nerdiness. The way that we find out if there's mold by the swabs and by the air samples is that the mold is everywhere, but what makes it grow or decide to give off its spores is when it has its food supply and moisture, constant supply of that. That's when it says, oh, it's time for me to reproduce and give off spores throughout the house. And it's those spores, those excessive spores throughout the house that are collected in the discs that we use to get air samples.
Yes.
That's what tells the lab that you have a large volume of a certain kind of mold.
In Florida, we have definite moisture at all times.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate you coming on tonight and informing my viewers about home inspections. You guys give us a lot of great information, and I appreciate you staying up past your bedtime.
Yes.
It went by quick.
Okay, good. I'm glad it was painless, right? It was
It went by
painless.
real fast.
Yeah, but we are getting our pajamas directly after this.
Okay, all right, you do that. But I appreciate you guys being on. For my viewers, my lovelies, as always, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can DM me. I have put Check Twice Inspections link in the description, so that way you could go to their Facebook, and if you have any questions for them or you'd like to hire them for whatever reason, have your home inspected before you sell it. I always am an advocate of that one. Give them a call. I absolutely adore them. They're good people. So until next time, my lovelies, be happy, be safe, and know that I love you, because if people can hate for no reason, I can love for no reason. Thanks again, Patsy and Rain.
Bye.
Bye.